Hello, internet. Brent, you came in the in the line,
He has impeccable timing. I mean,
right?
he times that perfectly every single time.
Yes.
Internet.
I just have so much to do. I time everything down to the minute.
It almost kind of has to be.
Mm,
All right.
pathetic.
We are that Silverline show on Tuesday. How you doing, everybody? We got Jose Fuentes. We got Ron Fortier. We got David Rios. I think I'm pointing the right way. I'm gonna look real goofy when it goes live, and I'm not pointing the right way. And we have Brett Larson.
And we're missing Tim.
We are missing Tim. Tim is making some life moves this week. So
moving into new digs, huh?
That's right. Don't overwork yourself, Tim. Don't make sure you stretch before you lift.
Yeah, bend with your knees.
Right.
You back.
We'll see you hopefully next week. All right. Our subject for this evening is I think it's a pretty good one, right? What makes a great comic book cover, right? So there are several, and I'm sure people, depending on who you are, depending on what aspect of the comic book creation you're a part of, I'm sure you'll come up with all kinds of different reasons, not reasons, but all kinds of different ideas as to what would make a comic book cover great, right? What makes it appealing, the coloring, the line work, the storytelling on the cover itself, which I personally am a big fan of. But we've got covers to share and covers provided by Ron of several books that he's worked on. I'm excited to hear the story.
I chose those pretty much because of the stories behind their existence. Because I mean, we're talking about a subject matter that is subjective, okay, which is art, right? I mean, all of us have different opinions and different views of what we think is beautiful or fair or atrocious or ugly or whatever, right? So I think before we get into those specifics, I mean, we need to address one little item, and that's why a cover. What is its purpose? And that's pretty obvious. The cover's job is to sell you the doggone book. Right?
Sell.
Right. It basically has to be that item that when somebody walks into a comic shop and looks at that big new wall of Wednesday new titles, it's going to stick out. It's going to do its job and grab somebody's eye and say, here, pick me up, look at me. All right, I got some really cool stuff in here. All right, whatever. And I wonder sometimes if a lot of the newer artists, all right, out there today are even conscious or aware of that. Because to be quite honest, I mean, I look at, the average week at a comic shop, and there are very few, all right, which I think are outstanding, that make me want to do that. I mean, I'll just walk past, a half a dozen covers that are pretty much the same thing I've seen, last week, last month, last year, to something that's different, that grabs my attention on a new title that I'm not reading. And because again, there's that familiarity with, oh, well, this is, Spider-Man, so they're going to pick it up regardless of what's on the cover because they're diehard Spider-Man fans, all right? But you know what? That's a little bit lazy there, guys. I mean, you could still maybe pump it up just a wee bit, especially when you got a brand new multi-million-dollar movie coming out by the end of the week, all right? Yeah, I mean, I think a little extra effort should be going into doing a cover for that specific reason of, hey, this is something special and check it out and whatever. And I think over the years there have been a handful of really dynamic cover artists in this business of ours that stick out way above the pack. So, hey, my 2 cents on that. I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, I also want to add that that the idea of what makes an appealing cover, what makes a great cover, has shifted from what the 60s, 70s, even to, when I got into comic books in the 90s, to, like, I don't want to say it's a shift every decade, but like if you look back at the covers, and some of the ones I'm going to bring up, you'll be able to see it. You'll see the covers, like you said, it's to catch the eye. It's to catch. I mean, people get 3 seconds to look at a cover of something before they walk on, and there are, back in the day, covers used to catch your eye. Oh, Spider-Man's getting shot at. Like someone's got a scope on him. To catch the eye, to intrigue the viewer as they're passing by in hopes that they become a reader. Nowadays, there's been a shift where it's very much not so much to catch the eye, although it's always to catch the eye. It's like, but it's very much pinup based. You know what I mean? There's very little. I always took the cover as like a trailer in a movie. You know what I mean? It's a little snippet, like, oh man, like for you to catch you, like, oh, that I need to pick this up. I want to know what's happening on the inside because of it. And now it's like, oh, which artist did a pretty picture? Now, as an artist, I'll give it up to every cover artist out there, because I mean, it's not an easy game to get into, to just outright do covers, and for people to come to you and ask you to do a cover for them. You know what I mean? That's not an easy game to break into, I feel, and at least in my experience so far. But those that have done it, great. But doesn't always, you know what I mean? I don't feel it has the same appeal as it used to in comics. Silverline, on the other hand, we do covers. We try our best to do covers that give a tease of what's on the inside. Just like the old Marvel covers, like the old DC covers. You know what I mean? A little tease, a little try and appeal to the eye. You know what I mean? Get people intrigued, get people interested. So, anybody else?
No, you're absolutely right. And speaking of Silverline, what's really funny is, I'm gonna have to say that way, Mr. Brent. When I was lucky enough to do one of the covers for his Kalis Achilles Has Landed, what I found was this was issue 2, and what ended up happening was Roland had mentioned to me that they had gone to all of the cover artists and say, pick a scene in the book that found interesting and make your cover. Ironically, all 3 color artists picked the almost identical.
Insane,
That's
right?
wild.
They
the one with the kids? That was the one with the kids?
No, it was the one that they were out in the snow.
Oh,
in the
okay.
dark.
Because there was another one, the one with the one with the kids. We all did basically the same thing.
So you had the main artist on the book who did the A cover, and then you had Jackson Rennick that did the C cover, and then Rob Davis did the B cover. And everybody had a completely different take, and I ended up doing the coloring for the B and the C cover. And with that in mind, when I did I started to do the C cover, and I felt that it was a little, it was combining with the others a bit too. So what I ended up doing is I ended up changing that cover to do kind of almost a monotone with basically an alternate with red and stuff like that, because you had a lot of popular books, like the Grendel Black, White, and Red, and a lot of the Marvel books were doing that. So I did like a shade of the red on the C cover, just to give it a different differentiation. And and it had him holding a terrorist, and he was spinning around, basically snapping his neck in front of a trash can with a fire going on. So I really pushed a lot of the reds and stuff like that just to get that separation. But again, it was like, what could we do to make the cover stand out a little bit different than what we did? But all 3 covers were, like you said, they were focused on what the content was in the book, and it went through. So I think that's a big thing is, and a lot of times now what I see, with the modern day where everybody's trying to do the big, the huge $20 cover that almost always has like a female on the front, doing her pose, and whatever, because that sells a lot, with but in what you were talking about, a lot of times remembering those cover. I mean, think of, Amazing Spider-Man 129. I have a simile here of that cover with the Target and the Punisher and all that
Yep.
stuff. So, you think a lot of those iconic ones. And I don't know, I had sent you a list earlier, but I don't know if you pulled some of those books or any of those books
I did.
or whatever. So we'll get into them and see if there's anything that didn't come up that, and I'll talk more about it then. But
Okay. How important do you feel that the cover aesthetic is, Brent?
I was sitting here going, oh man, I could have just called in sick tonight. Because I don't know how much I represent the average comic buyer today. I probably buy a handful of 5, 6, 7, and I usually do it through a sub. To be honest, I never buy a comic because I like the cover.
Okay.
It might be enough for me to pick it up and thumb through it a little bit, but I don't think I have ever actually done it. I've never bought a comic because I thought the cover was so great. I've had time to think about what my favorite covers are, and I have several. But I mean, it's funny because I am so keyed into, is the writing tight? Is the story tight? Does it make me feel like I'm in the story, or am I reading something that is kind of subpar? And the art is just not as important to me. And that's like blasphemy to comic fans, and I apologize, and I will continue to do so. Because and yes, please keep buying Silverline. And Roland, I'm sorry, you keep wanting me to be on this show. This is what you get. But it's like,
I think somewhere in there you just insulted me. I'm not sure what happened.
yeah, I'm like, Jose, let's go and turn these over to these guys and let them go through it. Hey,
yes, please
No,
hear me on
okay.
this. I love covers every time. I mean, the funny thing is, as far as Kalis goes, the cover is the thing I probably have the least amount of input in. So I get to see them along with everyone else who's reading the book for the first time. So that's actually kind of a fun thing. Oh, check it out. I never would have thought of that, etc. So in a weird way, as a consumer, I'm reading my own book along with everyone else for the first time, and that's what greets me. And it's like, yeah, this is actually kind of cool. But in a way, I guess there are just, I have had input in some of the covers, and they're never the best ones. So I am leaning completely on a skill set that's outside of mine when we're talking covers. So
That's fair.
thank you for what you're doing. It reaches a different demographic than me, and frankly, I'm like, okay, am I just writing comics for middle-aged white guys who liked G.I. Joe back in the day? Okay, so I have an audience of 15. Okay, well, in that case, I don't need to worry about the comic. But I want more people to buy it. So, yes, I need a nice bulletproof cover. And so I appreciate it as a fan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I can tell you what I'm a fan.
We were talking prior to going live tonight, Brent, about that idea of, this is an artist topic as opposed to a writer's topic. But at the same time, I'd like to think that if you're in this business long enough, all right, I mean, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I would concur to a point where when I first started out in the business, and I mean, even working on small independents that I did a couple of them or whatever, I had absolutely no say in covers. They were what they were. And, you know, knock on wood, they had some decent guys who were doing really cool covers for the small independent comics I was doing to break into the business. And I appreciate that a great deal. And then when I broke in and doing even Green Hornet and the Terminator books for Now Comics, and ultimately Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe and stuff like that, there's no way I had any input at all with those covers. They were all, you know, the editor sat down with, you know, the art team and the art staff, and they would pick covers, which in its own way got me thinking over the years, all right, looking at some of those and going, well, you know what? They should have picked a better scene, or they should have picked a better perspective or whatever. And being critical, like I said, because art is personal to all of us. And looking back on it, the majority of the art that graced most of my comics, I think was sufficient, was utilitarian and did its job. Some of them were outstanding. Some of them were gorgeous. And there were a few others I would have liked to talk with the editor a bit about, you know, their choice or whatever. So that's one of the reasons why when I started doing comics with Rob and his Redbud Studio thing, it was an opportunity, again, for me to have some input into that maybe, and to change things around a little bit to see what I can contribute as far as my ideas of what I think is a good cover. And so two of the things that I wanted to discuss tonight during the show are two incidences that dealt with that, all right? And the first one being Rob and I doing our graphic novel, Daughter of Dracula, right? A book that I had lived with for like 3 or 4 years. I had first written it as a graphic novel, later went back, wrote it as a film script, and it was just sitting in my closet collecting dust for almost 5 years. Rob comes along, we hook up after like 20 some odd years, and Rob decides he's going to draw it. It takes him 2 years to illustrate, letter, and do the entire thing. Okay, so we're done with it, and it's going to need a cover. And Rob's art is just absolutely gorgeous, page for page. All right, I mean, he literally did such a wonderful job with it. He'd be sending me a new page every single week for, like I said, almost 2 years. And so, yeah, this book meant a lot to both of us. Okay, well, along about this time, we had started Airship 27, our pulp publishing company, and doing the novels and the anthologies of pulp characters. And it tripped across a guy from down south named Mark Maddox. And Mark was a painter and wanted to break into the business as a painter. He longed to do magazine covers, paperback covers, and he's since gone on to do that. And over the years, over the last 20 years, I think he's won X number of Bram Stoker awards for the cover of horror magazines and everything else. I mean, his work is just stunning and gorgeous. And up until this point, we had launched the Sherlock Holmes series called Consulting Detective, and went to Mark and asked him to do the cover for us. And he does this great painting of Sherlock Holmes and Watson that graced that cover. And everybody that's seen it at convention, it's sold hundreds of books. All right, so I'm thinking of Daughter of Dracula, right? And what are we going to put on that thing? I mean, Rob and I have sweated bullets for this thing. I really want it to stand out. I want it to be something that grabs people's attention. So one morning, I'm walking with my wife, and we're morning walk after breakfast, and I'm thinking about that challenge. Well, Daughter of Dracula is the story of Dracula's daughter meeting Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron, just before World War I. They ultimately end up having this torrid affair during the war. And of course, he ends up at one point killing, shooting down 5 planes, becomes an ace, and gets awarded the Blue Max. That medal that was awarded said you were an ace, okay? And as Valerie and I are walking down the side street in our neighborhood, I'm thinking of the cover, I'm thinking of this beautiful brunette who happens to be this sexy vampire, and it starts to formulate in my imagination where I see a shot of her torso wearing this bustier that enhances her charms, her breast, all right? And dab smack in the middle is hanging the blue max, okay? But we don't know she's a vampire yet, and so in my mind, I can see it. The image moves up, you see her chin, you get to her mouth, and there's the fangs. Blood red lips, the fangs, up to her nose, over the bridge of her nose, and nothing else. We stop there. This is where we stop this thing, all right? And it nailed me, because what I saw was, all right, what you're capturing is sexuality, bestiality. This is a monster in a pretty package with the blue max, which is the entire story of World War I and the Red Baron. That's the cover, okay? It was, I could see it in my head, and there it is, all right? Thank you, Jose. So here's the point. I email Mark Maddox, and I tell him about this image I have for this cover. And I, anything you want, I will give you. I want this cover. I know what it's going to do for this book, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Mark writes back and goes, I can't do that. I can't crop it just over her nose. What the hell? That's ridiculous, Ron. That's going to look stupid. It'll look absolutely stupid on a comic cover, right? Well, I get back to him again, and we're arguing now. We're going back and forth with these emails to the point where I'm trying to make him understand. Listen, Mark, if you give me an entire headshot, all right, all we're going to end up with is another typical and very popular in those days bad girl cover, which were, hey, people were selling sex. Bad girl covers were proliferating all over the comic scene. And that's what you're going to give me. You're just going to give me a sexy vampire bad girl cover. And it's not what I want to convey. I want to convey a monster in a beautiful package. A monster. Understand this? A monster who's out for your blood. So I'm that close to losing Mark, right? We're butting heads. We can't seem to, go beyond that point. And then I get this idea of compromise. And I write him back and I told him, I said, hey, Mark, I said, here's the deal. All right. If you want to do this cover, if you will do this cover for me, here's what I am suggesting. You do it completely. You do it with the full headshot, totally. But give me the blue max, her cupping her breast, all that. I said, and crop it and send me the crop version. I then now give you permission to take the full shot and make posters of it and go to cons and sell these posters galore, make all the money you want to make from it and whatever. We're both happy. He got back to me and went, yeah, I can do that. Yahoo. I think it took him a month to get an email, to me and Rob with the attached JPEG. I pull it up and I see it, and it was it. It was exactly what I wanted. I knew it. Rob absolutely went crazy for it. He loved it, just as I did. We slapped it on the cover. We self-printed this because we couldn't find any publisher out there who wanted to, publish the book. And I mean, we're talking, we've sold. We have to be close to maybe selling conservatively 700-800 copies of that graphic novel over the last 10 years. All right, and it still sells. I mean, I still take it to cons. I still get it reprinted. We printed it through Kablam, and whenever I'm going to con, I just order some more and take them, and I sell out. I sell out all the time. People go crazy when they see that cover. Okay. So now it's like 6 months. Rob and I are selling it. We've advertised it on Facebook and on social media, and people are going crazy with it. We're getting great reviews for the story, for the art, everything else. And I get an email one day from Mark, and there's an attachment to it. And I pull up the attachment, and it's the full shot that he had done. All right, that I had told him he could take posters of or whatever, right? And you can put it up, Jose. And with it in the email was a note that said, "Yep, you were right." Ta-da. Okay, he never made posters. It's not the same story. It's not telling you the same story. So again, there's this bit about we as writers are invested in these projects, and a cover should convey something of what we want, our prospective readers to know when they pick it up. So that particular incident, I mean, I really appreciated, Mark's, coming back and admitted the fact that, yeah, for what we needed, what we were trying to sell, my version was what should have been on that cover. Had we taken his full shot, it would have been another sexy girl pinup cover. And 10 to 1, a lot of people would just pass it by and not giving it a second look. Now, as always, when you tell, stories like this, there's always ultimately a tag humorous little epilogue, and this one has a view, right? The book is out now for almost a year, and I'm going to the big New York Comic Con in New York at the Javits Center. So I make sure to get like 20 copies of Daughter of Dracula and a bunch of other stuff. And I get to New York and I set up my table, and places mob, people coming and going every day, right? And I've got Daughter of Dracula right up front. And I got one leaned up a little bit on a little board. And all these people going back and forth at the table, people stopping, looking at your work, talking, selling copies and whatever. Mid-afternoon comes, and I'm talking to my con neighbor. And out of the corner of my eye, because I'm turned away from the table, so we're talking, right? And out of the corner of my eye, I see a troop of boys, like maybe 10, 11, 12, all wearing like school uniforms, like from a real prep school, with the little logo on the jacket, with the ties and everything, right? And they're walking past us in the center of the aisle. And the shortest one, trying to keep up, is probably 8 or 9 behind them. And as they go by our tables, the little one looks over and sees that cover of Daughter of Dracula, and immediately grabs the 2 guys in front of him. They turn around, and he's pointing. They all turn around, see it, and come over to my table like a herd of lemmings. And stand there looking down at this cover, right? So the con neighbor looks at me, I look at him, I turned around and I said, "Something interests you boys?"
Where you have tissues right next so that you can, here guys, wipe up.
Yeah.
All right, let me hit the chat real quick because there's a few that we missed that I haven't put up yet. All right, we got Pops with the hey yo. What's up, Pops? We appreciate everything you do for us. We have Ken B. Woot woot. You had to say it with the woot woot. And Tommy with the Flormonte flyby of howdy gents, and all hail King Jose, runner of every Silverline show.
Yeah, you pulled double duty Sunday night, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, right.
All right, Houston, Texas Dave. Howdy, folks. How you doing, Houston? Thank you for checking us out and watching. And 30-something media says hi. How you doing? And nice to the Daughter of Dracula cover.
All right. Hey, thank you.
And Pops again says, "Hey guys, Pops again. We appreciate you, buddy."
Thanks for everybody, tuning in and watching. I've got a couple other covers I gave to Jose, but I'll hold off on those and let you and Dave take it from here, and do what you guys want to talk about, and then later before we wrap it up, give me at least 8 or 9 minutes to do that Mr. Jigsaw thing that I posted. I think you guys will get a kick out of that.
Well, before you start showing examples of covers and things, one thing I did want to say is, not only is it the cover that makes that, an individual cover with the content is that sometimes you have a perfect pair of matching with cover artists and all of that. And some examples are like some of the Joe Gisco stuff, some of the Conan stuff like that. I also think of Dave Dorman and all of the Star Wars books that he did. The Knights of the Old Republic, or the Old Republic comics and stuff that he painted. A lot of the Dark Horse books and things like that. So sometimes it may not be as specific. I can't go and say, Dave Dorman, this is a cover that stands out hugely. I have some, like, for example, the Crimson Empire, where he has all of the, all the red Crimson Guards set up in a row, stuff like that. But it's matching, some of the artists. And the thing that was interesting was at this time, each book had one cover. You didn't have like 3 or 4 covers to choose from. And it's like when you got these situations, they nailed it. They nailed it. Bernie Wrightson covers, the Rick Vetch covers. There's a lot of really awesome covers that came out for their respective books that just blew you away, and that was it. Sometimes you get the wrong, but there was a lot to say about matching up those artists with those subjects that just nailed it.
No, I'm one of my all-time favorite cover artists came along, which was the 80s or whatever, from England, was Brian Bowen. When Mike Barr discovered him and put him on Camelot 3000, and he went through the roof with those covers. They were insanely beautiful. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but he becomes such a huge hit that ultimately he was known for his innovation, his compositions, and didn't he do, the classic Joker, Batgirl cover, The Killing Joke?
Killing Joke?
That was his. That was stunning. Absolutely stunning, and a pivotal comic in the whole DC mythos, as you will. All right. So yeah, there are cover artists out there who are remembered, for their run on certain titles or whatever, and outstanding covers that you see and they stay with you forever. But you know what? I want to add to that, Dave. We're talking about covers being subjective. There's also what I call that emotional or sentimental value that covers have. I've talked enough, being, Mr. Methuselah here, guys, about being that kid in early 1960, 61, when Marvel came along and grabbing all those Marvel comics when they came out. And along about that same time over at DC got it into their heads when they saw the success, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were having, to bring back all the Golden Age characters of their own superheroes from the Justice Society of America in brand new versions.
Love Justice.
Starting with, I think, one of the most fantastic covers that made you sit up and take notice, which was Carmen Infantino's The Flash of Two Worlds.
Ooh, yes.
Right? Where here comes our Flash, and here comes the Golden Age Flash on both sides, with that girder falling, about to hit that poor girl, on the ground. And it was like, it was just mind-boggling. Well, the kicker is DC did the same thing, like I'm saying, as far as revitalizing. They gave us a new Green Lantern. They gave us a new Flash. They gave us a new Hawkman. And this went on for a period of a couple months, all leading up to the fact, and I'm like thinking, they're going to give us another Justice Society of America with the new versions, right? And sure enough, I pick up my comics from a local corner, mom and pop store, one day, and the back of all the DC comics I bought that day is the cover of Showcase number 38, featuring the Justice League of America. And there's that cover of the giant alien starfish being fought by Green Lantern, The Flash, John Jones, Manhunter of Mars, and Aquaman. And I'm like, whoa, that's insane. And that's what we been keeping our fingers crossed, all our nerdy little comic fans, that this is going to happen, all right? And to this day, anytime I ever see that cover, it just immediately, resurges all those, moments of excitement. Brent was talking last week about waiting for something. The rest of that summer, Brent, drove me crazy. I could not wait to get that comic book in my hands, all right? And there's sentimental value that you can't put a price on, and you can't quantitate, all right? It's what you like and what has some special meaning to you.
Mm.
Yeah. And the other thing is, example is I think the thing that elevated Lobo in its popularity was the Simon Bisley covers.
Oh, for sure. Totally.
He added so much to that, to the character. So again, you can't just discount, you don't have to just point out an individual cover, just an artist that just fits, that just matches perfectly.
I feel that every cover that Simon Bisley did for Lobo was always like, I don't know, like a poster for rebellion. You know what I mean? In just his art style, just like,
it's great. Yeah, it's Green Rebel. Every cover he did, yeah, it was like, this is dangerous stuff, So.
Half of the covers were like, just metaphorically shaking fists. The other half was flipping you off. Like, it was just.
Totally.
And I feel it came around in a time where like a lot of younger people, like young adults and whatnot, just were like embraced it. Like, just embraced the rebellion, embraced just like the chaos that came with it.
So okay, show us the stuff you guys collected.
So I got some covers and not all of them that Dave said, but I got some that Dave mentioned, because it's funny. I don't consider covers. I consider the art of them, but when I came to like wanting to show covers, I kind of drew a blank for a quick second. But this was the first one that I'm going to bring up, and why we're going to discuss why is it great.
Of course.
What the heck?
Now, mind you, covers like this are great. It's got to be a great cover, ideally, right? With an asterisk. When almost every book or every publishing house has remake homage of this cover.
Totally. Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
I mean, I know people that like, oh, I have to get this. Oh, I have to get this. But it's the homage cover to this. Homage is, if you don't know, giving reverence to something as an inspiration for what you're doing, and you're paying tribute to that in the same design style as what the original was.
Yep.
Now, for lack of saving time, I didn't pull up all the 90 something homage covers that followed this. But what makes me laugh even more, and I can bring that back up, and I guess I should have showed this one first. This one has I feel well over or close to 100 homage covers.
Wow. I'm actually looking at some of them now.
I'm looking at this one going, they did that with Lady Death.
Right?
They did that cover with Lady Death.
They did it with Deadpool. They did it with Dork. They did it with I think Transformers had one out for it or something like that. I don't know. There was a ton. Just So many. I know a guy that literally is his entire collection or majority of his collection is collecting these homage covers to this cover. Like I didn't. There's a zombie one of them out, but they've changed the colors here and there. But like so many, I feel if you can call it homage all you want, and that's what it is. You want to pay respect to it, but it's swiping. You swipe that cover because you wanted to put your character in that cover. It's the same thing as fan fiction, and I'm not knocking it, but
just do the call out
just
to where you're taking it from.
Call it what it is. Just make sure you call it what it is and where it's coming from. But at this point,
so a quick question for you, Jose. Is the other one that I said, is that one of the ones you pulled up to, the number one as well? Or did you just pull this one?
I pulled this one. I pulled the Hulk. What else?
Did you pull up the Spider-Man number one that I had on the list?
Oh, I did. I forgot to pull. I had it up on the website, but I forgot to pull it up.
Okay, well, that's fine. What I think, and one of the things that I really like about this, one is we love the webbing, but we also know that, McFarlane didn't come up with this. It was done before. It was another artist that was known for, the twisting and the separate strands and stuff like that. But this one, and when I think of the relaunch of Spider-Man number one, is these books took Peter Parker from being a human and gave him the way that he twisted and he bent gives him that degree of, like a spider could do and manipulate their arms. So it doesn't look strictly as just a guy in a suit. It's a really enhanced guy. If I were to go and turn around and throw this suit on and try to do that, I would look like dude, a heavy set dude in a suit. And I wouldn't be able to stretch like that. And that's what was the appeal of these was, the amount of intricate artwork that was put into it, the lines, even when he did the red and blue costumes, he made sure to put a lot of, the spider web on him and all that stuff that you saw on like the one and the follow-up cover to this, which would be the 301. That it brought that. It gave the character to me a more than your average Joe.
Are you talking about this cover, the Spider-Man cover? I just want to make sure I
have it. Yeah. See how he's kind of, it doesn't seem like it's a 100% natural pose. It looks like he's very contorted and stuff. And
like I said, if I crouch down like that, I would need someone to come get me, or I'm never getting up again.
Yeah, exactly. But it did that, and then all the web detail, all the spiders, all that stuff, just all those pieces layered on. Just this is not, this is not Black Tarantula or anything. This is Spider-Man. This is, this is.
I mean, Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man from day one has given comic book artists fits, really. All right. I mean, because, we're talking earlier about, the concept of why you do covers and whatever. And I think one of the most iconic covers is Amazing Fantasy number 15, which was the first ever introduction of Marvel's Spider-Man. All right. Yeah. It would do so well when it came out that month that the following month, Amazing, Fantasy became Amazing Spider-Man number one. So honestly, historically, the first appearance of Spider-Man wasn't on the cover of Spider-Man. Right. It was on the cover of Amazing Fantasy. And all of us, I think, remember that classic cover of him swinging over Manhattan with a bad guy under one arm holding. Well, we all know who did that cover. I mean, Lee got Jack Kirby to do it, because he wanted it to just jump off the cover, off the page, off the cover. And Kirby, I mean, who could be more different than Steve Ditko as an artist? Kirby gives you this Spider-Man figure who's all buffed up. He's totally muscular. swinging there carrying this guy. Then you buy the comic, you go home and you sit down, you open up the pages, and what do you got? You got Steve Ditko's Peter Parker, who's this thin kid walking around, all right, all sharp angles and whatever, even the spider suit. There's no relationship with him in the book and who's on the cover. But hey, they did it to sell the book, and it did. And then from that point on, I mean, even though Ditko was drawing it, I think they were getting people like Johnny Romita and some of the other Marvel people to do the covers for them.
Right. So great cover. This is a great cover.
Absolutely.
Are we in agreement?
It has also been aped many times.
Yes. Yeah, it has been homaged. Many times.
We created a new verb, guys. I like it. Cool. All right.
All right, next.
All right, next. Okay, so this one I think is a great cover for me. Look at that.
I was wondering if someone was going to pick one of those.
Mike Zeck.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. That run of Craven's Last Hunt, just amazing. All of them, you know. There's
you don't have all of them, do you?
the what?
You don't have all of them.
No.
They went together so well too. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have they're releasing the What If Spider-Man that has the one where, you know, he's up on the wall, you know, in Craven's trophy room.
Oh, nice.
You know. So yeah, Mike Zeck did some amazing covers for that run.
This falls into the same category that I was mentioning earlier at the beginning of the show about I feel it's best when a cover teases the story, teases something that is happening either in that particular issue or what it's leading up to, right? And I feel this absolutely captured that.
Yeah.
I've sat there and there was a Mike Zeck exhibit in Sarasota at the Ringling Museum, and I absolutely had to go. I went there with a couple of my artist friends, and the entire time I sat there like this with one eye staring at it, not because I was trying to, you know, accurately look at it, but I had cataracts over both my eyes, and one of them was less than the other. And one eye I couldn't see at all, and the other one was like hazy. So I was like trying to see out of my good eye, but like I got to see like this cover. I got to see Secret Wars artwork, like as up close as I can get. Some He-Man, which I told a friend that he did a He-Man cover too, and no one believed me.
Did a lot of the G.I. Joes as well.
Yep.
Real American Heroes.
Mm.
All
Yep.
right. It would be easier if it was just one button to click to make all this happen. All right. Also, well, you know what? We're going to jump off Spider-Man because there's several I have for Spider-Man, but this one, I absolutely love this cover. Have been in love with this cover for a very long time.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ish going on in this, right? And I know I mentioned before that I'm not a terrible, huge fan of like pinup stuff. And I know Nick Fury's independent, but everything around him is, you know, just expanding story and expanding, you know what I mean? It's like I said, it's supposed to be, to me, it's supposed to be like a trailer. And I feel that that's exactly what this collage of Nick Fury's life and whatnot behind him, you know, all the squiggly lines, you know, definitely help to attract the eye artistically. But man, I'll be honest, in art school, I had a huge print out of this pasted behind my desk.
Nice.
Like, I love this cover. Steranko did this cover. You know, if anybody knows, his hairstyle hasn't changed since the 50s. And I'm pretty sure it's not changed in length. It has just stayed frozen in time.
I've seen him at a few conventions. Yep, he's always in that business suit
Yep.
and everything. Yep.
Huh.
Opinions, thoughts? You guys agree, disagree?
Well, he shook up the industry when he came into it big time.
Well,
I mean,
even his
especially with this. I mean, you know, Nick Fury was his baby, and he did a lot of these. Like, you know, the minute you pulled it up, I thought, oh yeah, psychedelic Jim. Yep, totally.
yeah, and he did the stuff with the X-Men issue 50 with Polaris.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Some awesome stuff.
Yeah, just phenomenal work.
Hmm.
Like I had that somewhere. I haven't put it up in my office yet, but it's going back up in my office. Just know. All right. Now I picked this one out of a new comic coming out, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of covers that I've seen that just I was very hard. Again, nothing against the artists. I was very hard pressed to find one that like appealed to me nearly as much. But this just, I mean, I love the layout on it. It's a new book coming out, Horror Godzilla. I just like it's a very simple color scheme. You know what I mean? And I think that plays well. That's the same, not the same, but you know, that's what Dave did with Kalis, right? Dave, very simple, one tone, various values of said tone. Like I just think like this cover is awesome, and I think it's going to be a great cover.
Yep.
Yeah, it does its job. It has the impact. I saw it on Facebook a few days ago when it first got posted, and I had the same reaction as you, Jose. Okay, I mean, I looked at it and said, "Wow, okay, that's a really nice cover." I mean, the whole concept of the scene boggles the mind in that the one human at the bottom left-hand corner is Godzilla actually looking down at him.
Right. Like they're looking at each other.
So, I would not want to be him. Okay. It's like, yeah, all right. That's one big lizard I don't want to take off.
Yeah, I think that's gonna just play well. I know several artists that have done, and one in particular has done a really amazing Godzilla piece. I don't know if it turned into the cover. I don't remember if he made it a cover or not, but it was just this huge like drawing and of Godzilla's head, right? You see his eyes, you see like the glowing and whatnot, and in the shadow darkness of his body, all you saw was a little helicopter, like this big, like across his body. You know what I mean? And him just looking at it, like that. Like man, I think he may have turned that into a cover, but man, I've stared at that. I've seen him at conventions, and I just stare at it. I was like, dude, just stop. Just if I had money, it would be mine. All right. I have to go back to, and like I said, I'm jumping everywhere. If you guys got anything else you want to say, let me know. But I have to go back to Spider-Man because of this cover in particular. Again,
Zek again, right?
Pin-up pose, right? Spider-Man, but it's everything that's happening behind it, the chaos that's happening behind it that I feel pulls Spider-Man forward. And you have the smoke going one way, a Human Torch coming in the other way, but it's all angular, pointing to what he wants to be shown, which is the quick like separation from all the chaos of Spider-Man, in the suit. But to me, like the chaos going on in the background is what drew my eye more than Spider-Man in the black suit, because who am I going to see? Like who's in the background? Like that to me, that is appealing. Where it's not just the focus you want them to see, but you're intrigued and interested in wanting to see what else is going on in that cover. And yes, Mike Zek, I told you.
It's one of those things of, hey, there's this whole big thing, but hey, check it out, I got a new suit.
Right?
Yeah.
To me, it's almost a Where's Waldo, but at some point you forget to look for Waldo and realize this dude is smacking another guy with a piece of bread, and this person over here just let go of the buggy with the baby and is rolling down the street. I mean, start noticing all the other little stuff in it as you're trying to, as you forget to, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be finding Waldo. You know what I mean? So,
well, what's funny too about that cover was everyone knew that Spider-Man had a new costume by this time, because the first issue of Secret Wars launched. There was the thing in Central Park, and all the heroes were going towards it, and then they disappeared, but they didn't suspend all the Marvel books until Secret Wars was done. So by the time they actually got to this issue, Spider-Man was fully engaged with his black costume. So the thing about this cover was, it was like Marvel was saying, you've been wanting to know, haven't you? You've been wanting to know. Well, here we go. Here's the month where we explain it all. So
right.
It was a really pretty cool marketing move, frankly, on Marvel's part. So it's like they were debuting a mystery, and they're saying, and here's the answer you've been waiting for. So
I think I picked this book up at like a swap meet or something, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, I could find a bundle of books, and it was, I mean, I was still young, but it was like, well, I'm like, Mom, can I have like $5? You know what I mean? And just picked up a stack. But again, it was not necessarily Spider-Man as much as everything else that was going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At that point, by this issue, I had no clue that Secret Wars was a thing. Like, just because it wasn't something, but as soon as I saw this, now I have to go back and figure out where the rest of the issues are. Now I got to go, backtrack. Now I got to get my back issues for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, this wasn't what got me directly into comics, but it definitely was a push after my Detective Comics.
Man, that takes me back.
Detective Comics.
All right, Jose.
All right, now
I wanna wrap this episode up with
Yes,
a really
sir.
fun little story and some really gorgeous artwork. Right? You can start, if you will, by putting up that first cover of Mr. Jigsaw, issue number 1.
okay.
Okay, so there's a comedy superhero that I created with artist Gary Kato of Hawaii. And Gary is a Steve Ditko clone. He grew up loving Ditko and Spider-Man, and his artwork reflects that. He draws so Ditko, it's spooky sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been doing short stories of Mr. Jigsaw for about 20 years when Valerie and I moved to Colorado. We hadn't been here maybe a couple of weeks when my son, who runs a landscaping business here in town, comes to me and says, hey, he goes, one of our customers, and he was a successful businessman here in town, has a son who's a huge fan of your Terminator series for Now Comics and is dying to meet you because he is an artist himself and he idolizes Alex Ross. So they've invited us over for dinner. Okay, so Alan and his wife Nicole, me and Valerie go to this family's home, really nice house, nice home, meet the husband and wife and this 20-year-old kid named Nick Runge. And we sit down and, I mean, throughout the whole dinner, he's just pumping me with all these questions about what was it like writing Terminator and what was Alex like and did I ever meet him, and he talked about every cover of that series and on and on and on. And it was fun. He was a great kid. So before we left, Valerie said, well, you ought to stop over our place. Ron brought his comic collections with him, and he's got a lot of stuff that he's written lately, and he's got some artwork that he's collecting in portfolios. So we make a date for Nick to come over midweek. He shows up. I take out my portfolio, and I've got it on the kitchen table, and I'm showing him stuff. And remember now, he is a Alex Ross fan, and his big dream in life was ultimately to move to California and to draw movie posters, because he also is a huge fan of Drew Sturzman, the guy who did Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all those great, all right? Because Nick's art, by now I hadn't seen much of Nick's art at all. We're just talking to him and him telling us this. Okay, so out come these issues, finished issues of Mr. Jigsaw, including this one. And Nick picks this up, flips through it, goes, "What's this?" And I tell him about the character in the series, right? And he is like so taken. He said, "This is really fun. Jose, put up the next cover, because this is Charlie Grant, Mr. Jigsaw. Now, he's got a girlfriend. Put up the cover with his girlfriend holding the newspaper up in front of her. It's issue number 9. This is Amy Buck Boucher. She is a reporter for the Portland Herald in our series, all right? And she's Mr. Jigsaw's closest friend. She also has a prosthetic on her right hand, all right? And just to give you an idea, she's this pretty brunette, intelligent and wisecracking as you want to ever get. Okay. Now, Nick looks at all this, and then he looks at me and goes, "Any chance I can do a cover for you?" And I went, "Yeah, if you want." He said, "Oh, no." He said, "These are great." I gave him copies of the book, right? And he goes, "No, I want to do a cover for this." So I send him home with the Mr. Jigsaw copies I gave him. He's all excited about that. And so about a week goes by, and I get an email from him, and he goes, "Ron," he goes, "I'm starting to lay out the cover, and as advantageous as it was, I had just written the script for issue number 4 of this series, which was going to be the first time we ever did a 24-page Mr. Jigsaw story. And it was called The Phantom of Studio B. Takes place out in Hollywood, and Mr. Jigsaw and Amy go out there because the big studios want to make a superhero movie of Mr. Jigsaw. All right? But there's a mysterious phantom trying to destroy the studios, right? It was my comic take on Phantom of the Opera, if you will. And so here's Nick saying, "Well, you know, Ron," he says, "who would you cast as these characters if this was a real movie?" And I hadn't given that much thought at the time, but then his question, and I thought, and I said, "Well, you know what?" I says, "In his younger days, maybe, I think Adam Sandler might have done a really nice job as Charlie." And I says, "Personally, I envisioned Terry Hatcher as Amy." He writes back and goes, "That's perfect." 2 weeks go by. Get an email from him with JPEG attached, right? Pull it up. And now, Jose, pull up the cover, the number 9, The Phantom of Studio B. And our characters as real people. Look at that thing.
And you hadn't seen any of his art before this?
Huh?
You hadn't seen any of his art before this?
Nope, none. Not one piece ever. I about fell out of my chair when I pulled that up on the screen. And of course, it's Terry Hatcher and Adam Sandler.
Right.
As Amy and Charlie, all right? Gallery went crazy over this thing, absolutely crazy. We ended up taking it to Staples locally, and we had up 3 posters made up. One for ourselves, one for Gary, co-created the character, and we gave one to Nick as a gift. Well, long and short story of all this is, over the years, Barry Gregory at Kablam, where the issue was published, has publicly said many times of the thousands of comic books Kablam has published over the years, his favorite cover is this one.
That's awesome.
And Nick, incidentally, ended up in Hollywood, where he now paints movie posters for the big studios.
Mike Struzen.
Yep, the second. So there you go. I mean, it's last thing in the world I expected, okay, to ever see these characters look like real people, all right? And boy, does that make you wonder about, come on, Hollywood, knock on my door one of these days, all right? All right? But I wanted to finish with that story because I absolutely love that cover. I think it's absolutely fantastic. There you go.
A great cover. Right on. All right. That's a great story. It's so cool to hear, you know, I mean, you gave that dude a shot without even looking at his art. It could have been refrigerator art.
Oh yeah, it could have been horrible. But again, his questions about Alex Ross that night at dinner, and I mean, he was so in tune with what Ross was doing. All right, especially using watercolors and markers, and
Right.
he knew his stuff. And he'd been to art school. All right, so I mean, I don't think I was taking that much of a chance. I thought I was going to end up with something decent, you know, good enough to use and whatever. I didn't expect anything stellar like this. I mean, I still got that poster. I mean, I look at it, you know, every now and then, and it blows my mind
Right.
of what artists can do, and visualizing what are basically cartoon characters and bringing them to life.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's awesome. And now he's living his dream.
he is, and I have no doubt he's making big bucks,
Right.
which he totally deserves.
All right. Any last words? Any closing words on covers, gentlemen? Do you think we've covered it all? Shown some greatness.
We've covered it all. Good pun there. I like that. We've covered the covers.
All right. We have been that Silverline show on Tuesday, and
What are we doing next week?
next week I have it brought up already. I'm ready to go. Next week, our subject, of course, is next month. Next month. I don't know. Tim hasn't put it up.
It's gonna be a mystery, people.
It'll be
Ooh.
a mystery.
Great.
Catch our
Very
Wednesday
great.
Whammers at 9:00 on Wednesday, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, and catch our Sunday show, Silverline Sunday at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time, and catch us next week with a subject we will share later. Be surprised, just like us. All right. So until next time, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking us out. And as we always say, make mine.
Silverline.
Hi, I'm Chris Ulm. I'm the former editor-in-chief of Malibu Comics. Make mine Silverline.